On the Record is live in Wasilla, Alaska, and for the next 3 days, you are taking a journey so far away from home. Former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin and her husband Todd are taking us deep into Alaska for the inside story about oil drilling in the United States. Are you totally in favor of any offshore drilling?
I am in favor of offshore drilling, but the Gulf certainly has taught us some lessons. There has got to be more contingency plans in place. There's got to be greater oversight of the developments out there. We know that here in Alaska, especially with the onshore, though, we can do it right, and we've proven that for decades now that we can do it right. It makes absolutely no sense that Congress, that the feds won't let us drill more onshore domestically when we see what can happen in these deep offshore unprecedented areas. For a while there, and there were some spills up on the tundra in the North Slope. So my administration, we doubled up our efforts to oversee and make sure that BP was doing what they had to do to protect the environment and to not waste any of the resource. Everybody expects it to be different because they believe extreme environmentalist fundraiser posters and websites that want you to believe that it is this pristine, mountainous, flowing with rivers and waterfalls and lots of wildlife up there. When we're talking about the 1002 area that is needed for oil development, it is a tiny little footprint in a very remote area that is pretty much uninhabited. It is flat, and some people refer to it as basically a wasteland.
All right, this couldn't be more magnificent. Even the weather as rather overcast, to put it lightly, it is still absolutely beautiful. We are in Valdez, and this is the end of the pipeline. All the pipe from the North Slope from the Prudhoe Bay area comes about 800 miles down the pipeline through several different going above ground, underground, but ultimately the oil ends up here. And you can see, if you look over here on the mountainside, you can see some of the storage tanks at the terminal.
We're just about 10 miles west of Anwar. It's on the other side of the Canyon River over here.
You know, it struck me that it's quite flat and there's not a lot of, I didn't see a lot of animal life or anything. How far south is it like this? What's the terrain like?
You know, many miles south before we get into the mountain range, as you can see. And so when you see pictures of Anwar in the mountains and moose, I don't see that anywhere here or to the north of us.
You can look about 60 miles south and still see what we're seeing right now. So yeah, as Todd's suggesting there, the fundraiser pictures and the websites that show waterfalls and moose and mountain ranges and Dall sheep climbing along shale, that's not the real Anwar.
Is there anything to Anwar besides this flat that we've seen? I mean, have we seen pretty much a representation of Anwar?
Pretty much on our flight down here from Prudhoe down here to Kavik hunting camp. Yeah.
What about animal life? Have you seen animals since we've been here?
We saw about 5 caribou when we landed, and there's a caribou across the runway here, but there's plenty of caribou around here normally.
Somebody said they saw 2 birds. That adds to the species list, but there are some. Out of the 20 million acres set aside in Anwar, there is wilderness, there is refuge area, there are some more beautiful, more scenic landscapes to look at, but the 1002 area, the 1.5 million acres that have been set aside for the oil and gas development, including the 2,000 acres that are needed for the footprint for the development, that's the barren remoteness that you're looking at.